Welcome to Panel Surfing. I'm Steve Sanu, and sitting next to me is our first guest, Mr. Matt Kindt, writer of Mind Management and soon to be Passed Aways. Welcome, Matt.
How's it going?
Doing really well. It's good to have you here, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, we're here first off to talk about mind management. I'm pretty sure it's clear to most all of the readers out there that you've had a plan in place since the very beginning. And my question to you is, was there any point at which your overall plan for the series might have deviated from when you started out?
Yeah, I think it did. Like, I had the big story arcs figured out, and I had the main characters figured out. But as you go along, and anytime you're drawing on something for hours and hours a day, new ideas pop up. And, if you think about one thing for 3 years in a row, your ideas are going to change a little bit. So it did sort of grow and evolve. At the same time, it's still ending the way I had planned it to end. The final issue is still just like a big fight scene, which is what I planned from the beginning.
Well, speaking of fight scenes, I've seen some pages from your upcoming book, Passed Aways with Scott Collins. There's different imagery than one might expect from something like Mind Management, for example. It's a very different book. How have you and Scott sort of worked together to help further the ridiculousness that's going on in the visual side of that series?
Yeah, before we started, and I asked this of any artist that I'm writing for, I'm like, what do you like to draw? Because I know that when I'm writing my own book that I'm drawing, I'm only putting things in there I feel like drawing. There's no dinosaurs in my books because I hate drawing dinosaurs. There's very few cars. I never draw horses. There's things I just won't put in my scripts. But when I'm writing for somebody else, I'm like, oh, well, what do you like to draw? And he was like, I like dinosaurs. I like robots. I'm like, well, okay. How can we do this in an interesting way? And so there's a couple of visual jokes, like the thing with the dinosaur. I was like, well, I don't want to really have I don't know if I can fit a dinosaur into the story I was planning, but him saying that made me think of a way to do it. I'm like, oh, how can I do that in what I've already sort of done and make it work? And so there's like this visual gag in the first issue, which I'm totally spoiling, but where you're close up on this big dinosaur, and then you pull back and you realize the dinosaur's like this tall, and everybody's like freaking out, taking pictures of it and everything. That was an idea where if I hadn't talked to him ahead of time and him giving me a bunch of like crazy ideas, there's a lot of kooky stuff in there that is the book benefits by us working together. It wouldn't be what it is if we hadn't collaborated.
Excellent. Before we wrap up, we've got a fan question for you from the internet, and this fan wrote, do you believe that comic book writing nowadays is going through the same creative burst as many TV shows from the 2000s?
Yeah, I think it's evolving just like television has, but I think comics in a way got there first. It was one of the earliest serialized forms of storytelling, and I think if anything, television is figuring out what comics have been doing so well for so long, and I think that's the beauty of comics, is it's been doing it and it's just getting better, I think.
Excellent. Well, Matt, thank you so much for being here and sitting here in our interview studio. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
This is Panel Surfing, and I'm Steve Sanu.